Finally, some good news out of the UK. It looks like Nigel Farage's new Brexit Party has been leading the last couple polls for European Parliament conducted in that country. I know I tend to cover really negative stories about war and death and destruction, but I thought it'd be nice to take today to look at something that seems to be a bit of a bright spot in the news this week. I'm not sure how closely all of you follow UK politics, but Nigel Farage was the leader for a long time of UKIP, which was originally the party that was supposed to advocate purely for Brexit. And I used to be a big fan of his in UKIP many years ago, but I felt that in the last few years they've really kind of gone in the wrong direction, and they've moved a lot closer to the continental right-wing European parties. And for those of you unfamiliar, you can think of right-wing European parties as kind of like socially conservative Democrats, to make an analogy to the United States. They love, big welfare states and lots of government spending, and they're not necessarily averse to socialism, but they do want to preserve sort of traditional values in some vague sense of the term, and restrict immigration so that you don't end up with changing demographics too rapidly. Which isn't really in line with my own politics personally. I was attracted to UKIP back in the day when they were more of a sort of a libertarian type party. Now by that I don't mean that they advocated for social degeneracy or anything like that, but UKIP I think used to be a pretty liberty-oriented party, and they advocated for Brexit based on that basis. The idea was that the European Union was bad, not just because they let in lots of Syrian refugees, but they were bad because the European Union was illiberal. The goal of getting out of the EU was to escape from the tyranny of EU bureaucracy. UKIP, however, in the last few years has become much more of a sort of a nationalistic party, and they're much more concerned about, Islam, which, is something you can be concerned about, sure, but it's not really what UKIP's focus used to be. UKIP's focus used to be that, hey, Brussels is bad because they're taking away our freedom, not Brussels is bad because Syrian refugees. And not only that, UKIP's become much more overtly culturally right-wing, which I think has alienated, a lot of support. People who were, I think that the old UKIP had the potential to attract people from across the political spectrum in Britain, specifically because they were so, single-minded on the Brexit issue, that I don't think that the cultural differences between its various members necessarily made a big difference. One could be a person on the left and still in UKIP, I think, and you certainly could have been someone on the right and been a part of UKIP. But it's been very clear, certainly since Farage left, that Gerard Batten has decided to completely expunge the libertarian wing of UKIP, what remained of it. In fact, I believe there was one MEP that even joined the Scottish Libertarian Party. So now UKIP's fractured quite a bit, and they're kind of left with the, continental right-wingers in the party. Oddly enough, however, UKIP was still able to attract three rather, I think, very important supporters, three popular YouTubers, almost all of which have over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and that's Count Dankula, Sargon of Akkad, and Paul Joseph Watson. Now, Mr. Prison Planet, I'm not necessarily shocked to see in UKIP at this stage. It's pretty well in line with his politics, I think. I think that he's pretty much lines up with Gerard Batten. But Sargon, I was a little surprised by, because Sargon, to me, at least the way he portrays himself, he says, oh, I'm Mr., I love liberalism from the 19th century. If only we could get back to that, blah, 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 English liberty and freedom and all that. Sargon seems to believe, at least based on how he portrays himself, what UKIP used to represent. So I find it strange that only now he's become a candidate for UKIP in, I believe, southwest England. So that just seems a bit odd to me, considering that Sargon, at least in the past, has seemed to distinguish himself from the continental right, and has certainly openly antagonized the alt-right. Despite these three very strong supporters, however, UKIP doesn't seem to have moved much in the polls. They're still well below where they were in the last European elections, and they are, in this latest poll, polling at 6%, which is a good distance behind Farage's new Brexit Party, which is polling at 27% in first place. Now, this is not just one poll. There are three polls here that I'm looking at. One by The Independent, which shows the Brexit Party at 23% in first place. One by YouGov, which shows the Brexit Party at 27% in first place. And then there is a third one, that shows the Brexit Party at 12%, just 1 point behind UKIP, which was at 13%. But that last one was an earlier poll, so it seems like the Brexit Party is gaining momentum and is moving ahead in the pack. You don't poll first in 2 separate polls and call that the fluke. You would consider the one in which they're polling in the middle of the pack to be the fluke. But it would seem that the Brexit Party's gain is UKIP's loss. I think that UKIP thought that they would be stronger if they ejected the libertarian elements of the party, but it seems as though the voter base is more committed to Farage, if not at least him and his personality, if not his ideas. There doesn't seem to be enough energy behind the continental right-wing ideology in order to really get UKIP into even the middle of the pack now. They're back in the bottom. They're only ahead of the SNP. So not only do I think that UKIP has really limited itself by making it by giving itself a specific ideology, you turn yourself into a splinter group. The Brexit Party is, I think, much more of a big tent because they're pretty clear that, the party's just about wanting Brexit. So therefore, anyone who wants Brexit, regardless of their underlying political ideology, whether they be like a Corbynista socialist, they should still vote for the Brexit Party because they're going to deliver Brexit. I mean, this is something that I don't think a lot of people in the United States acknowledge, but the British certainly know this, that Brexit is not a left or right issue. There are people on the left and right who want to leave for different reasons. And don't forget that the European elections are held separately from the standard UK Parliament elections. So voters theoretically can choose, hey, I prefer, say the Labour Party on domestic issues, and so I'm going to vote for them to be my member of Parliament. I want someone from the Labour Party, but for the European Parliament, maybe I'll vote for the Brexit Party because I just want Brexit. So the future is certainly looking bright for the Brexit Party, and I wish them all the best because I think that Farage is one of the only men in UK politics who I still have any interest in. So if you got anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and subscribing. And don't forget to click the bell because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I guess I'll see you folks here tomorrow.